Hi, it's Cammy. Charlie talks football.
Welcome back to Charlie Talks Football. It finishes Manchester City 1, Newcastle 0. Honestly, it was a strange game because for the majority of the first half, Manchester City dominated the game. You know, there was nothing really Newcastle could do. The way they passed the ball around effortlessly is great as well. But the goal was it shouldn't have been conceded. I mean, you had 2 or 3 players pressing one player and leaving Alvarez unmarked, and it was a good finish, but it could have easily been prevented as well. And we did think that Shaw we thought he might have to come off the pitch, but because he got injured, but fortunately he was still okay. So it was just really frustrating, you know. You could tell by our faces that it wasn't really the best result. I mean, as well in the second half, again, we didn't really create much chances. I thought Bruno had a shocking game. He takes too much time on the ball. Tonali was okay. Dalburn was okay. Gordon, I mean, he was okay, but he sometimes has a bit of an attitude and needs to calm down a bit more, I think, as well. But overall, very disappointing. At least we didn't concede, you know, more than 2 goals to one of the best teams in the league. But it was frustrating because, especially for a Newcastle fan, we're just watching Man City effortlessly pass the ball around, and Newcastle couldn't really do anything about it. Now, I just wanted to ask you about the substitutions, because I don't know what you guys think, but I thought they were a bit questionable. He took Tonali off, who did decent. He made a couple of good passes, and then he also took Isaac off, which I disagreed with. What are your thoughts?
I thought, starting with the goal, it was just such a frustrating goal to concede because he had acres of space. Joe Linton, and
it could have easily be prevented as well.
It could have easily been prevented, but Bruno and Joe Linton were chasing back. They'd lost the player. Shaw was in the box and he made no attempt to close him down. He was quite far away from him, but he didn't. I mean, it was a great finish, but he had far too long on the ball. But I was just really disappointed with our attitude to the game tonight. I thought we would have went out there and been positive, and went at Man City, I thought we were quite negative. I thought we were hesitant. We didn't press the ball like we normally do. It was as if Howard told us to stay back and contain them. And yes, we were still in the game with 5 minutes to go. It was only 1-0, but I still think we could have offered far more going forward.
But the thing is, though, if we did press them, they could have scored a lot more and it would have been game over. Yeah. So I do feel for the players, because I think it was pretty obvious that they were working hard. It was just the game plan that Howe set out was to be cautious. Maybe it wasn't the game plan, who knows? But I just think it was sort of like a training exercise for Man City. Yeah. You know, they were just passing it around. It was almost like we were our players were scared of them, you know.
Yeah, I agree with that. It was
so easy for them. And I mean, Haaland, of course, he's one of the best players in the world. We were giving him far too much space. And there was a chance where I think it was Foden passed it through to Haaland, and Shaw sort of just jogged back, and it was so easy. I mean, Man City definitely could have had a lot more goals with some of the chances we were giving them, but I'm not sure if it was the game plan. But I think I've got to criticise Eddie Howe a little bit. I don't know if it was, you know, sort of the game plan to be cautious, but I think maybe we should have got at them a little bit more. Yes, we may have conceded more, but at least we know that we actually are trying to win. I think the players were working hard, but we just couldn't get the ball off Manchester City. You know, we knew at the start of the game they were going to dominate possession, and we did. You know, there were times, especially in the second half, where we were getting so frustrated because Man City were just making it too easy. And I think I'm really interested to see you guys' comments down below. But I think the most annoying thing was about this was that Manchester City just they could have played so much better. Yeah. Like, they could have been so much better. Like, they were good, but they weren't, you know, brilliant.
Yeah.
And Newcastle were in the game all of the game. And I think as well, you know, Dan Burn, I mean, he was okay, but I think, of course, we are bringing in a left back at Lewis Hall, but we just need someone with a bit more creativity. Like I said before, I did disagree with Eddie Howe taking off Isaac. Anderson, sort of, when he got the ball, did some stuff. Livramento didn't really have any touches of the ball, but it wasn't really his fault. Harvey Barnes he was okay, but there were a few times where he was giving the ball away so easily. What were your thoughts on Tonali?
I thought he did okay. I think Man City just played in third gear. I think their passing, their movement off the ball is phenomenal. The timings of the run they make off the ball to create space and create overloads is just phenomenal. I thought actually overall Shaw and Botman did really well with Haaland. You know, he didn't score. Yes, he had a couple of chances, but I thought overall they did well against him. I thought we'd give the ball away far too easily.
Sloppy.
I thought one of our players was pressing and then we were sitting back, whereas normally there'd be 3 or 4 would press. I understand sometimes with Man City, they're that good. If you go right at them for the jugular, they can pick you off and be 3-0 up after 20 minutes. But it was just so frustrating. I think we can do better, and I think we'll come away disappointed.
Yeah, and the thing is as well, I mean, at least we didn't concede more goals. You know, we don't have the best record at Man City, especially against
15
the Etihad.
games, I think it's
I did think
defeat,
we were going
winning.
I did think we were going to lose, but I just thought we would have sort of gave it a bit more. But I think we did. I think Eddie Howe today, whether he's got the tactics wrong, I'm not too sure. I don't want to be too negative because it was only 1-0 against, you know, one of the best teams in the league. Manchester City are probably going to win the league, but like you said, I do have to criticise Bruno. He does this all the time where he holds onto the ball for too long. I think how much stoppage time was there? Was there 4 or 5?
Was it 5 minutes?
I think it was 5 minutes, yeah. But there was a time where it was like 94 minutes and Bruno held onto the ball for so long.
Yeah.
And it was so frustrating because, like, we were in the game, and like I said, fair enough, if it was like 2 or 3-0 to Man City, but we were passing the ball around incredibly slow when we were still in the game and we only had 1 minute or 2 minutes left of the game.
I mean, we love Joe Linton and Bruno, but tonight they were poor, and let's hope Joe Linton's injury, I'm not sure what it is, but he went off injured, but Joe Linton was very poor tonight.
Willock, maybe we're missing him.
Yeah, maybe missing Willock, but you know, it was a game where you felt we could have offered more and we didn't do ourselves justice. Even though Man City were a fantastic team, it was just like as if we were hesitant and we didn't really want to compete, and we were giving them far too much respect, I thought.
Do you think we look scared of Man City?
Yeah, a little bit. I thought was standing off them, and I can understand it might have been the tactic to keep the game tight and try and nick a goal, but I just felt like we were just missing something. We didn't do ourselves justice. We didn't play with the passion that we normally do and with the intensity.
I disagree because I do think we were playing with passion. Right. I just think Man City just made it look so easy, and it isn't necessarily the players' fault. I just think it's just like Man City are just so good. Now, I think I will have to make this point, but I think this game reminded us of the Carabao Cup final against Man United, where Man United have most of the ball and they weren't really breaking sweat. Man City didn't really break sweat, and I think that was the most annoying thing. I'll say it time and time again, but Man City could have played better. Yeah. Man City could have played better, and they didn't.
They just did enough to win, didn't they?
This would have been, you know, fantastic result for us, especially against Villa. You know, I was really looking forward to the game. I mean, I predicted 2-2. I thought there was going to be a lot of goals, but it just seemed a bit flat. And to be honest, I don't really want to blame the players too much. I honestly just think it is because Man City are just so good anyway. I felt sorry for Eddie Howe as well because he looked so frustrated.
Yeah, him and Jason Tyndall looked really frustrated at the end.
We just couldn't get the ball for the majority of the game. Me and my dad were watching it. It was so frustrating because we were just like, press, like get the ball. And it was just frustrating because we weren't doing that, but it's because of how good Manchester City are. And I know Eddie Howe said in his press conference, you know, we're sort of gonna give it a Man City, we're going to give them a game, but it didn't really look like that. So I don't want to criticise the players too much. I think overall it's not a bad result. 1-0 against the best team in the league, you know. A few years ago we would have got beat 2 or 3-0, so it's not a bad result. Any other day, that might have been a draw and we might have maybe came back and got something out of it, but just a shame we didn't get a draw. Frustrating. We've got some tough fixtures coming up. Liverpool, that's going to be
Brighton
tough.
after that,
Brighton
away
on fantastic form, that's going to be tough as well. Hopefully we can bounce back, but to be honest, it's not the worst result, so I don't want to be too negative. You know
I think it's more just the performance, because I feel like we could offer more going forward.
But I don't think that was necessarily the players' fault.
Right.
I think it was just Man City is so good defensively. You know, they've got Ruben Dias, Guardiola, 2 of the best centre-backs in the league. You know, it's hard to really do something against them, the way they're set up. I think you are right, maybe we did lack a bit of sort of creativity going forward. I think Miggy was the only one who sort of, you know, was trying his best to create things. Isaac sometimes looked a bit dangerous going down the middle. Who do you think was our best player, if there was
I thought Botman did well at the back and Shaw made a good tackle, so I thought, they did okay at the back.
What about his substitutions? What were your thoughts?
Well, I think we did need to change it, so I don't have a problem with his substitutions.
Isaac, I mean...
Yeah. I think he changed it because we needed some fresh legs on there, and it was fine that he changed it, but it was just a shame we couldn't get anything.
Overall, what are your thoughts?
Just disappointed by the performance, but it's not the end of the world, and hopefully we can beat Liverpool next week.
Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed that video. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. Thank you for over 100,000 views on the channel as well. Make sure to leave a like. Get your comments down below. I want to hear all your comments. Get all your comments down below, guys, because I want to know your thoughts. Do you think Newcastle were too slow on the ball, too sluggish? Do you think Eddie Howe got the tactics wrong? What were your thoughts on Bruno, Tonali, Eddie Howe's substitutions? And anyway, guys, frustrating result. Let's hope we bounce back against Liverpool. And I'll see you guys later.
See you in the next one.
Bye.